We're live. It is the Saturday Media Pulse here. This is Rich Lieberman. We have a doozy for you today, folks. We always have some interesting material to talk about. It's been a crazy week. It's been an eventful, maybe not so eventful week of radio. The little radio that's left in San Francisco has been obliterated. And now we have word with a lot of research and phone calls and texts of a woeful situation taking place at KNBR, which is basically dead in the water, but they're just hanging on by a thread. And now we learn, with much research and investigation and talking to various people, I'm not going to call it a coup, because it's so insignificant in the moment that it is not a coup, but by definition, it probably is a coup. What are we talking about? Well, as KNBR killed off two of its veteran producers, air talent. Tom Tolbert, 28 years, he was given a sightseeing package to say goodbye. And Radio Gypsy John Lund is history, and they got rid of some producers. They got rid of imaging, kind of a guy had been there forever, had the keys to the kingdom, Tony Ryan. He's gone. So, and now they lost their building. They were basically evicted without being called an eviction. They were ordered to leave pretty much because they couldn't pay for the lights, as I've been broadcasting for a couple of weeks now. Couldn't pay for day-by-day operational funds. Was Cumulus in their Wogaban, San Francisco cluster building on the corner of Broadway and Battery. They're gone from there now to where are they going to be broadcasting from? They're going to be down at Levi's Stadium, where they have one studio with a toilet, so at least they won't have to pay for toilet paper. Isn't that a metaphor, considering their programming? They now lose out in San Francisco at their what used to house about 5 radio stations, and now, boom, goodbye. So I'm going to tell you about this conspiracy that has resulted in 2 of their basically only people left out of 4 or 5 now. And these are father figures whose sons, one of whom has been there, one of them who has just joined, were saved by the bell. Their respective fathers. In this case, I guess father knows best. And that's kind of depressing, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But basically, you have Greg Papa, who did do the 10 to 2 show with Johnny Lund, as somebody at KMBR referred to him as. Lund is gone. And now you have Greg Papa, who is now going to work with, now get this, folks, don't laugh. Greg Papa is going to be working with that magnificent voice, Greg Silver. So it's going to be the Greg and Greg show from 10 to 2. Papa and Silver. And who's Papa? Greg Papa. Who is Silver? In this case, Greg Silver. Well, his daddy is a guy by the name who's been fired at 2 other places. Mike Silver, who used to write for the Chronicle, was fired basically. Worked at the NFL Network, basically fired. And now Silver, elder Silver, whose son is Greg Silver, a producer, is now going to be working with Greg Papa from 10 to 2. Geez, I wonder who was responsible for this. But wait, there's more. At 2 to 6, we have Adam Copeland, Copes. Well, He used to work with Tom Tolbert, who got the heave ho. And now Tolbert's gone. And who do we get to replace Tom Tolbert? But we get that magnificent, flamboyant, outstanding vocal Derek Papa. And who's Derek Papa? Oh, he's the son of Greg Papa. So you now have not Tolbert and Copes, you have Derek Papa and Copes. This is not so funny. The few remaining people that they have, the various Uber drivers and little guys left at KNBR, were none too happy about this because it looks like father knows best. This is embarrassing, folks. Here you have Greg Papa, who kisses the tuchus of his son to get him still employed. And it's not a lot of money, but it's still the thought that counts. You have a Papa conspiracy, and then you have Mike Silver, whose son is taking the place of Tom Tolbert. Yeah. Greg Silver working with Papa, and Derek Papa working with Adam Copeland. That's embarrassing. That's beyond disgusting. And I'm not even one of the morsels that work there, if you want to call working there. This was conspired weeks before they said goodbye to these yahoos. And if I were Greg Papa, I would be embarrassed. His son, I guess, is desperate enough to work there. And now he's all of a sudden going to become a co-host. Now, folks, mind you, they lost their studio in San Francisco. So now they have to, and navigate through Levi's Stadium. And that is if they don't have these little kind of broadcast setups where they could literally broadcast from whatever room they're at. They could broadcast from their home. They could broadcast from wherever. They're little Comrex, little setups that enable you to broadcast from wherever. But it's more complex than that. And then you have the morning show, the cadaver named Dorcas working with Brian Murphy. That's about it. But the main thing here is there's lots of sadness. There's anger. There are a few people that are royally pissed off that this has been allowed to happen, even at minuscule KMBR. It is beyond embarrassing. It is beyond sad. It is beyond out and out pathetic. Greg Papa, this is what you're reduced to, taking care of your son. And look, I get it. You want to take care of your offspring. You want to make sure that your son is okay. But at this expense, this embarrassment, father knows best, I guess. All right. And Mike Silver, only agreeing to appear on various KNBR talk shows, which are now breadcrumb shows, taking care of your son and doing it in this manner at Woeful KNBR, part of Woeful, double bankrupt Cumulus. And oh, by the way, folks, you're not going to read this in the Chronicle. You're not going to see this at SF Gate. You're not going to see any of this in the trades like that shameful, fraudulent Barrett Media, a guy who's got a newsletter out there. And only what he does, he publishes bullshit corporate whack talk, double talk. He's not going to mention this. It would be too, shall we say, inconvenient to his brand. He kisses the ass of the corporations and has leakers, namely the program director, if you want to call it that, at Woeful KNBR, who gives him scoops. If this is a scoop, he doesn't mention the fact of this woeful nepotism run amok and reaching its worst its worst ever in this manner. Talk about embarrassing. And they let this happen. But then again, it's cumulus. We're not even talking about what happened at KSFO and the new fake KGO and how they thrashed 1077 The Bone, how they killed off that successful duo for the most part. Goodbye. Goodbye. Sayonara. See you later. Morning crew at 1077 The Bone, aka Lamont and Tonelli. I say I'm not shocked anymore, and I'm not, but this kind of out and out shenanigans. And believe you me, there's a few pissed off engineers at KNBR. There's a few pissed off people outside the perimeters. Folks, it shows you the degree to which these guys will work just to take care of their offspring. And you might say, well, they're looking out for their own rear end. Well, I guess they are. But I wouldn't want to work at that place. I wouldn't want, if I was in that situation. They're mercenaries. They don't give a shit about their brethren. They don't care about Tommy Tolbert, who, by the way, mailed it in years and years ago. But how would you feel right now if you're Tom Tolbert? You have these little breadcrumbs taking your place, the offspring of these enablers, these conspirators like Papa, Greg, and Mike Silver, a complete and utter fraud, a failure, and schlepping your sons into this mishmash, this pot of dreck and poo-poo? My God. Well, folks, again, you got the real deal. You got the real story here, not the bullshit and not the dope that you get by reading the Chronicle or SF Gate, the Red Burrito Story Factory. This is even embarrassing beyond embarrassment, even by fucked up cumulus KNBR standards. Father does know best.